A woman suspected of stalking Kate and Gerry McCann broke down in court today, screaming, "Why are you doing this to me?" when presented with irrefutable proof she is not missing Madeline McCann. The court heard the Polish woman Julia Wandelt had allegedly even turned up at the McCann's home, claiming to be their daughter, as well as sending unwanted text messages and phone calls. As Kate McCann gave evidence at Leicester Crown Court today, the 24-year-old Wandelt shouted, "Why are you doing this to me?" before being escorted out of the courtroom to calm down. Kate, opening up for the first time, had told jurors Wandelt and her co-accused Karen Spragg of Cardiff showed up at the family home in December last year, making her feel distressed. Kate said the Polish girl called her mum. Co-defendant Spragg allegedly asked Kate, "Don't you want to find your daughter?" Mrs. McCann said she felt invaded in her own home as the two women allegedly continued to bang on her front door. She received a letter addressed to Mum the next day, signed from Madeline. She told the court,
"It was the thing I wanted the most, for all this pain, for Madeline to be back and calling me Mum. Referring me as a mom was hard, and she said it a few times about Gerry being controlling, which had no truth."
Kate said officers investigating Madeline's disappearance had notified them of the alleged stalker. The parents concluded Wandelt was not their daughter, but the girl continued contact. "I never lied, I'm not crazy, please let me prove it," she pleaded. Today, Kate said,
"I know I can't say what Madeline looks like now, but I know I'd recognise her."
Wandelt and co-accused Karen Spragg from Cardiff deny the charges and the trial continues. The search for Kate and Gerry's daughter goes on more than 18 years since her disappearance. The investigation has led police to suspecting German convict Christian Brueckner of the girl's murder. While officers were keen to speak with Brueckner in connection with the case, the suspect declined. 3 weeks ago, he was released from German prison, where he'd been serving an unrelated sentence for a sexual offence. He denies any involvement in Madeline's disappearance. Last month, journalist Nick Pisa told GBNews he'd been receiving letters from the suspect's lawyer.
He was released, Christian Brueckner, from a 7-year jail sentence that he was serving in Germany for the rape of an American pensioner that took place in Praia de Luz about 2 years before Madeline disappeared in 2007. Now, he did his time. He was convicted in 2019, and as such, he was able to walk free from Sendai prison last week. I say walk free. He was actually driven away by his lawyer in quite chaotic scenes, actually. He was given a 3-van police escort, and the roads were closed to prevent journalists who were there seeing where he was going. We do know that eventually he ended up in Kiel, which is where his lawyer is based, and now he's ended up in Neumünster, where he was videoed or pictured on CCTV buying a mobile phone. He is, to all intents and purposes, allowed to wander freely about Germany because he has been released from that prison sentence. But there are severe restrictions. There are some restrictions, and you can probably see from some of those pictures that he has to wear an ankle tag. But that ankle tag doesn't work when he leaves the German border.
And can he leave the German border then? Is he allowed to under the conditions of his release?
No, absolutely not. No, the prosecution campaigned long and hard in several pre-release hearings over the summer that he should not be allowed to leave Germany, and he has to report his movements wherever he goes. So he does have an ID card, which is obviously a legal requirement in Germany, but that ID card allows him to obviously travel anywhere within the Schengen country. So he's able to travel quite freely within the European border, but he can't go outside Germany, for example, overseas to the Far East, which is where his lawyer said that he would like him to go because he is so recognisable. He says that the best thing for Christian to do would be to go away to somewhere like Suriname, to quote his lawyer, where he won't be recognised and where he should have plastic surgery. But we should also say that
his lawyers. Well, of course, because his lawyers are working on his side. Didn't he also try and buy an untraceable mobile phone as well? So he's obviously trying to escape, isn't he?
Yes, I think he doesn't want people to know where he is. He's very keen to sort of slip underground or slip into the underground, if you like, or to be untraceable, really, because his lawyer says to me several times that he is a quotes marked man and that people are out to get him, and people always tar him with the brush that he is connected to the Madeline McCann case, although his lawyer insists he has seen no evidence to prove that. He's written to me several times, actually, over the past 18 months or so. I've had many letters from him in which he says that he has nothing to do with that, and he can prove that. He claims that it's all part of a conspiracy and a plot by the German prosecutors to pin this crime on him.
Earlier this year, German and Portuguese police renewed their search for Maddie, near where she went missing in Praia da Luz. The German team told reporters the search had been very constructive.
Nick, please do bring us up to date. What's the latest from Portugal?
Good afternoon to you. Well, as you said, in that introduction, the search finished yesterday afternoon at about 5 o'clock. We were watching up on a hillside, and we could see that the German and Portuguese police sort of shook hands with each other, embraced each other, and the Germans actually gave their Portuguese counterparts a crate of beer to say thank you for their help over the past 3 days. We had expected it to actually carry on until today, but then we got wind yesterday morning that it was going to wrap up yesterday, and they have now flown back to Germany, the team. And I can tell you from what I've been hearing from Portuguese sources that they haven't really found anything at all of any significance apart from a few animal bones and some scraps of adult clothing. So it looks again that it was a bit of a fruitless task.
Well, that is surprising then that they wrapped up early, having not found anything significant towards the case. Why might it be? Do they now think that the areas that they were looking in were perhaps the wrong areas?
It's a possibility. I mean, one thing that I was perhaps considering is, did they have any specific information to look at those buildings in particular where they spent the last 3 days, and maybe what they told was there wasn't there? Was it just a scattergun approach and they were just sort of casting their net out to try and see what they could find? Who knows? The German prosecutor did say that he would update us today, but for the time being, we haven't heard a word at all. Some suggestion that he might do it on Monday, but it's just again a fruitless exercise. This is the second time in 2 years now that they've been there. They were there in 2023 looking at a dam. You saw some pictures there in your introduction there. They were looking at a reservoir up at Arade Dam, again specifically for material that they told had been dumped in there that was connected to the prime suspect, Christian Brueckner. But as we saw back then and now, nothing at all has been found.
Well, very disappointing. And Christian Brueckner has said, hasn't he, that he'll run as far as he can as soon as he's let out. He'll disappear perhaps to another country.
That's right. In fact, I had a word with his lawyer last night, actually, just to see if there's any reaction from his camp. And he said that he hadn't actually been able to speak to Christian Brueckner about it yet. He said that he would probably see it on the TV news in his cell at Sende prison overnight, and they would perhaps talk about it in the next few days. But we know that, yes, technically, Christian Brueckner can be released from that 7-year jail sentence in September. But the lawyer told me that he does actually have 1,400 euros of outstanding fines to pay for motoring offences and a forgery offence that he was convicted of in 2016. And unless he pays that amount of money, he won't be leaving jail. So it's possible and looking very likely that he will actually remain in jail until January. That would be covering the time served for non-payment of those fines. He says that he has no money at all, so that he can't pay those fines.
That's interesting. Well, Nick Pisa, thank you so much for bringing us the very latest from Portugal. Bit of a disappointing few days, I suppose, but January, that gives some more time. Nick Pisa, thank you very much indeed, Senior Global Reporter at the Mail Online.